Well, this is an exciting moment for me because this is the first time I've ever driven a fully electric car. In fact, I think this is the first time I've ever even been in a fully electric car. I love internal combustion engines as much as anyone else, but I have no doubt that this is the future. This is the Hyundai Kona EV. It's a small SUV, fully electric. Let's give it a go. And off we go. Oh, it sounds a little bit like an electric train. The acceleration's actually really good. It feels just like a normal car. The only thing that makes it feel a bit strange is the engine braking, which kicks in the second you take your foot off the accelerator. It's like I'm gently applying the brake, only I'm not. 0 to 100, let's see how the Hyundai Kona EV handles it. Oh, bit of wheel spin there. Pretty well. It does feel like the front is rearing up a little bit and that loss of traction was not so great. It feels like the whole car is kind of doing that and it's a little uncomfortable if I'm honest. I did notice that doing that little exercise dropped the range meter by about 4 kilometers. That's the price you pay for enthusiastic driving in an EV. In terms of how it feels as compared to a regular SUV, it's pretty much on par. It does feel a little too lightly sprung maybe. I do feel like I'm bouncing over every bump in the road. I'd prefer it if it was a little firmer perhaps. Let's talk about the exterior. They always say that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and I have to say I'm not really beholden to this car's beauty. Hyundai aren't the only people to go for this skinny driving light up high and main headlights down low design, but it's not something I'm a fan of, and I just can't help but think that if this car was a Mazda or a Honda or a Mitsubishi, that it would actually look a little bit better. The Hyundai Kona is not exclusively an electric model, there's a petrol version as well, but of course the electric one doesn't need a front grille because there's no radiator. So they've plugged it up with this interesting pattern design here. You know what, I think this is actually one situation where I wouldn't object to a fake front grille. It just, I think would look a little bit better. Or maybe it's time to go back to the 70s and 80s and bring back the wedge shape of the Lotus Esprit or the DeLorean or something like that. Of course, also at the front here is where you plug your car in to charge. The boot is a smallish 361 litres, which can be expanded to 1,143 with the rear seats down. Underneath the floor, we have a carry tray, a bit lightweight. There's no spare tyre, not even a space saver, but we do get a tyre repair kit and the all-important 240 volt wall charger. Speaking of charging, that's the one thing that everybody wants to know. How far can I drive on a full charge and how long does it take to charge? Well, the answer is 449 kilometers and lots of places. Look, charging an electric car is not the simple 3-minute activity of filling up a car full of petrol. It takes a while, up to 9.5 hours to do it at home on a 240 volt socket, and it takes around 50 to 80 minutes to do it up to 80% at a fast charging station, and a lot of those you can find at shopping centres around town. So with just a little bit of planning, you actually can make this work. Then there's the price. Look, ultimately this is a small SUV that's not terribly well equipped outside of its electric credentials. The interior, while it looks nice, is a little bit plasticky. There's no cordless phone charging, no sunroof, there's no dual zone climate control, and no cordless phone charging. The Hyundai Kona Electric Elite starts at $65,887, and it's missing a lot of gear that you'll find in cars half the price. A big tick in the electric version's plus column, of course, is emissions. Now, there's an argument to be made that when this car was built and when it's disposed of, and when you take into account the emissions from the coal-fired electricity plant that power it are taken into effect, this car has some emissions. But that aside, from the non-existent tailpipe, it's 0, as opposed to the petrol version's 169 grams per kilometre of CO2. The interior is a definite step up from the regular version of the Hyundai Kona. We've got leather seats, we've got a nice big 10.5-inch centre screen here, but the rest of the surfaces are quite plasticky. We've got scratchy plastic up on top of the dash, down low here on the doors. it just doesn't feel as premium as it should for a car that's this expensive. The main star of the interior is the 10.5-inch center console screen. It runs a different version of the Hyundai infotainment software that features a lot more information about the car's performance and how the battery charge is, and can even tell you where the nearest charging station is if you're running a little bit low on battery.
Hyundai has also replaced the gear shifter with push buttons.
Lots of good interior storage space here as well. We've got a nice little cubby here which hides the main USB port, nice big center console bin, and underneath here, under the center console, is a big storage platform with lots of room, a couple of cup holders in the doors as well. Okay, back seat. Oh, yeah, no. Leather, but no knee room, no headroom, plastic on the doors, no air vents, no USB, no. Having driven this car for several days now, it's very easy to forget that it's electric. You notice the lack of noise when you first turn it on, but as soon as you pull out into traffic, it drives just like any other car. This electric motor generates 150 kilowatts of power and 395 newton meters of torque, which is really good for a small SUV.
There are 3 drive modes: Comfort, Sport and Eco. Sport definitely opens things up a bit, with the car becoming instantly quicker and the steering heavier, although this does come at the expense of battery life.
I've actually become quite used to the regenerative braking. That's where you take your foot off the accelerator and the engine braking slows the car down while also charging the battery. Also important to note that it puts the brake lights on to let everybody know that you're slowing down. On the steering wheel here are a couple of paddles that are usually used to change gears in most cars, but here they control the level of regenerative braking, and I can actually bring the car to a halt just by using them.
Electric cars make very little noise, which can pose a problem for pedestrians not being able to hear an approaching car. Hyundai have solved this by giving the Kona Electric a bit of fake engine noise that sounds very sci-fi and only comes on when the car is going below about 30 kilometers per hour. Other safety gear includes blind spot collision warning, driver attention warning, forward collision avoidance assist, lane keep assist, rear cross traffic alert, and smart cruise control.
There's no doubt about it that electric cars are the future, and once they reach price parity with their older dinosaur juice drinking cousins, I have no doubt that they will be the dominant form of cars on our roads. But if you're an early adopter and you're going to get on the electric train a little bit early, then the Hyundai Kona Electric Elite is a very good option.